Hi everybody, this is Della from The Beauty of Play. Today I'm going to go over some tips and tricks in using manipulatives for the NumberSums unit. So I'm going to start out by making a train, and when I say train, what I mean by this is rods lined up end to end like this. And when we have a series of trains underneath each other, like this, they're called a mat. That's called a mat. These trains show addition. You can also show subtraction by looking for the difference between the two rods. What fits here, it's 1, so 6 minus 5 is 1. Now, in the NumberSums unit, we use these in what is innately the number representation. So if I build a staircase like this, and this is another way to look at subtraction. You can see here on our staircase that intuitively the white rod is 1, the red 2, the green is 3, and so forth. And I say this because this is not always the case. When you start looking at fractions, the value of these rods changes. So they don't have to be 1. But for this unit, we're using it basically in that way. So moving straight on at another way to look at a series and multiplication, a series and subtraction, one of the major ways to look for patterns in a series of numbers is to look at the difference between the two numbers. And if you look at this staircase here, you can see that the difference for each step is 1. Now, in one of the exercises that we have, this pattern is different. We have one, I think it's 4, 8, 12, and 16. And not only does this visually show like how it grows, and which is very different if you look at doubles. So let's put a double beside it. 2, 4, 8, 12, and then it would go up to 24. You can see that this is an even staircase. It goes up basically in a line. And if you look at these, and if you do it with lots of rods that go out continuously, you can actually see the curve that it causes when you do an exponential pattern like this, because this is doubling, so it is multiplying by 2 each time. So adding series has a different view than a multiplication series. Okay, but what we're looking at in this unit is series that add. And this particular series is one that we find in the first exercise of the NumberSums unit. And you can see this difference by finding the difference between the first rod and the second rod, which is the purple rod, which is 4. And it climbs by 4 each time. And that gives us predicting power. Now we have a very good idea what our next number is. It's likely to be, and it is, 4 more than this, which makes it 20. Right there. So this is how you would use it for showing the patterns in the first few exercises, and also with finding the difference in a series, like finding the pattern in a series of numbers. Okay, so the next way that we're going to use the Krasner rods is for factoring. And when we factor a given number, we're looking for a train of number that is all the same colors. So you can definitely show your child how to do this with ones, because ones are going to fit in all of them. And then what I would do is just go through each of the numbers. Does 2 fit into 10? And just FYI, these 10 rods are great for straightening the rods. And 10 does fit. Does 3 fit in 10? And we can see that 3 does not fit evenly into 10. It has to have a different color. So 3 is not a factor of 10. And neither does 4. And we don't have our next factor till 5. And eventually your children will figure this out. But once you hit half, like half of whatever the original number is, that is the largest factor you're going to have. If you think about this, you cannot fit more than one rod of any color after that. So the 6, 7, and 8, none of them are going to fit until you come to 10 again. And 10, of course, is a factor in and of itself, and it's the one we started with. So eventually they will figure that out. You can prompt that for noticing. You know, I noticed that the highest factor of this number was half that number. You don't have to say that, but you can lead a child into that observation, or they may just notice it themselves. So what do you do if you have a number that you're factoring that's larger than 10? Because we only have rods that go up to 10. Well, you make that, let's use 12, with the 10 and the next number. So this is 12. 12 is a wonderful number to factor because it has so many factors. So 2 fits into 12 evenly. 3 fits into 12 evenly. 4 fits into 12 evenly. And we don't come across a number that doesn't fit until we hit 5. And as you know, 5 does not fit, but 6 does. And with 6, we've hit our half. Half of 12 is 6. So we're not going to have any higher numbers than this right here. So that is a way to do factoring. I will say, since in the perfect number exercise, the first perfect number is 6, this is a great way to reinforce prime and composite numbers, but if you haven't done that, it's a wonderful way to introduce prime and composite numbers. But it does get tedious going through 28 numbers, and I talk about this in the curriculum itself. One of the ways to help avoid that is if you have the game Prime Climb, they have this wonderful multiplication chart. And I don't know if you realized it was a multiplication chart, because it is definitely not the standard multiplication chart, but it is. So on the top row, we have headers 1 through 10, and the first column is also headers 1 through 10. And if we take any given number, well, first, they assign the first few prime numbers a color. So 2 is orange, 3 is green, 5 is blue, and 7 is purple. And then for any number on the multiplication chart, you can choose, and it's like factored for you into colors. So let's do 30. 30 is 2 times 3 times 5, because it has an orange, a blue, and a green. On 24, just above it, we have 3 blues, 3 oranges, and that shows it's 2 times 2 times 3. Now, here's something to watch out for. These are prime factorizations. So not only in 30 are 2 and 3 and 5 going to be factors of 30, but 2 times 3, which is 6, is going to be a factor. And 3 times 5, which is 15, is going to be a factor. And 2 times 5 is going to be a factor. So you have to remember that if you use this chart, or lead your child to understand that. You may look on the chart and choose a number, factor it with the rods, and then talk about why this looks this way and the rods look a different way. So these are some tips that you can use in working through the NumberSums unit to help see the patterns and to manipulate the numbers in the unit.